Let me start by saying I'm normally a very skeptical person. I don't believe in ghost stories or paranormal things. That being said, I'm hoping someone with some knowledge on stuff like this can explain to me what exactly occurred today. My name is Daniel. I start every morning by waking up, showering, making coffee, waking my little girl up, and getting her off to school. This morning my alarm went off at 6 a.m. After showering and drinking my coffee, I got my daughter dressed and took her off to school. I came back home since I am out of class myself today and decided to lay down on the couch and watch television. I must have dozed off because I woke up again to my alarm going off at 6 a.m. I sat up, super confused. I had vivid memories of already starting my day off once already. I jumped out of bed, kind of scared, and checked on my daughter. There she was, lying in bed, asleep. This scared me. I remember the shower, I remember the radio and the car ride to school, and I remember kissing her goodbye. Now normally I'd try to blame this on lucid dreaming, which I don't have, or something, but I went and checked in the kitchen and my coffee was still warm. When I woke her up, she put on the same outfit I remembered. She ate the same cereal out of the same bowl. The car ride to school was exactly the same. I'm back at home now and have been for a bit, but I'm scared to lay back down on the couch. Time is moving forward like normal now, but I'm still worried. The craziest part of this whole story is this. The first time I woke her up to get ready for school, she came out of her room and said, "Today we are going to the gym and playing soccer." The second time I woke her up, she told me the same thing. I'm genuinely unnerved by this. What just happened this morning? Last night I had an incredibly realistic dream. I am very close with my Nana and see her almost every day. She is a fit, healthy lady in her 70s. In the dream it was her birthday and I had forgotten her card and she was saying, "I would say save it for next year, but my time has come, my dear." We hugged and then she left. I woke up feeling completely sick. Looked at the time, it was 1 a.m. I didn't want to call her and panic her because it was just a dream. Then 2 hours later, my mom called me to come to the hospital because Nana woke up at 1 a.m. struggling to breathe and had called an ambulance. She's doing okay now. Apparently she has pneumonia, but she's been allowed home to my mom's house for now. I told her I had a dream about her at 1 a.m. and she told me that was exactly when it started. This terrifies me because a few years ago I dreamed a friend of mine died. Called him up to see if he was okay. We joked about it, and then a few days later, he suddenly died in his sleep. I'm currently such a mess because I can't understand these dreams. They aren't always correct. I've had dreams with premonitions before about people dying, and I have become so stressed and fixated on it and nothing came from them, and they turned out to just be dreams. But this has happened twice now, and I don't know what to do. A few months back, my parents and I were headed home after a night of shopping in a city about 45 minutes away from where they live. It was getting pretty late, and the entire drive back we were discussing all of the strange occurrences we've experienced. I actually brought up the glitch in the Matrix theory and some other general paranormal stuff, but soon the vibe of the conversation started making me uneasy. I was eager to get back to my parents and out of a dark car on a fairly empty road. Just as we got back into my hometown, as we were talking about some creepy phenomenon or another, something made me stop mid-sentence. I noticed something moving very quickly in front of the car. Here's where it gets difficult to describe. What appeared to be two black stick-like legs, as if the bottom half of a stick man ran quickly past the car. Everything that moment seemed to slow down, and I entirely lost my train of thought. The area around the legs even almost seemed static-like and blurry. Neither my mom or dad said anything immediately, so I shrugged it off as looking out into the night at a moving road for too long. But as I started my sentence again, my mom interrupted me. "What was that?" She genuinely sounded terrified, and I knew immediately what she was talking about. I basically screamed back, "The stick man?" And my mom began panicking. My dad seemed very confused and pulled over, and we looked around the area where we saw it run. My mom said she saw an entire stick-like man run from one side of the road to another. Tall, lanky, almost two-dimensional, just like a kid's drawing. When she calmed down, she started describing everything about what she saw, including how it walked. This was only about a half a mile from her house, so we drove back. My dad still in a state of confusion and my mom and I nearly shaking. Ultimately, we all came to the conclusion that everything in that moment was very hazy, as if time slowed down and we were seeing into another dimension, possibly. Why my mom and I saw it and my dad didn't, I still have no idea. Both my parents are religious people and typically try to debunk stuff like this, but they do both agree that there is no way what we saw wasn't otherworldly. We began researching and found that we weren't the only people to ever see the stick man. When my mom read one post about the way it moved, I saw her heart drop. The post said something about claims of the thing galloping, which is exactly how she had described it right after it happened. Normally I am very interested in stuff like this, but I was so terrified I just wanted to forget it happened. For some reason, something about the situation felt menacing. Whether this was a glitch, paranormal, or alien, I know that it was terrifying. Since then, I've been keenly aware of the odd things happening around me, and I have a few more occurrences that may have happened since that night that I might share. But either way, I now have a big fear of driving alone at night in small towns. Ever since I was young, I felt like I was somehow attached to the Vietnam War. I was fascinated with anything and everything related to Vietnam. I was infatuated with the 50s, longed for what it must have been like to grow up in that time. As I become more aware of this, I've noticed that not only do I feel attached to that time, I feel like I remember that time. I will be watching a Vietnam War documentary, and something will come across the screen that makes my brain sound alarm bells. It's like being smacked in the face with a memory. It has even gone so far as to make me emotional, even though I don't know why. It isn't a scene that would be particularly emotional, but for some reason I feel strong emotions connected. Anger, pain, sorrow. I feel somehow tied to that era. I feel like I grew up in the 50s and 60s and fought in Vietnam and possibly died there. When I was 7 years old, I also discovered what dog tags were. From that very moment, I demanded a set of dog tags to wear. I pestered my parents so much that my grandparents took me to the naval station in Alabama just so I could get a set of dog tags. It was a 2.5-hour drive to get there. There's a battleship parked there also that you can tour, so we made a day of it. In getting my tags made, I remember the guy asking what all I wanted on it, as you could put anything you wanted. I was very adamant about wanting all of my personal information on it, just like in the Army. I still have those tags lying around somewhere. I need to find them. But it had my name, date of birth, social security number, and my religious preference. I got the date of birth on it instead of blood type because we weren't aware of my type. I was only 7. I wore them for years and years. Can't tell you how many ball chains I broke or how many of those rubber rings that kept them from clanking that I went through. But just another fragment in a long list of strange things that I feel connected to the Vietnam War. I don't believe it necessarily. I just wanted to put this out there in case anyone else has had similar experiences, albeit with a different timeline. Please don't assume I'm crazy. I feel embarrassed even typing this because I know it sounds ridiculous. Feel free to ask questions, but please just tell me I'm being silly. 2.5 weeks ago, I was studying in a lab building at my campus. I finished studying, packed my stuff, and got up to leave. As I was heading out of the room, I realized that I had finished my apple and should probably throw away the core instead of taking it to the car with me. I knew there was a garbage can near the table I was just at, because I had thrown away my gum in that garbage can earlier that afternoon. So I turned around and noticed that I had left my ID badge and car keys on the table I was just at. Threw away the apple core, grabbed my keys, and headed out to my car. In order to get out of the building, I had to scan my ID twice, once to get out of that section of the building, and once to get out of the main entrance. I scanned my ID both times and unlocked my car. got in my car and threw my keys on the passenger seat, then responded to a text from my mother. Reached over for the keys to start my car, and they were gone. I checked under the seats, dumped out my school bag, checked outside the car. Nothing. The keys were nowhere to be found. My first thought was maybe I dropped them outside my car and someone picked them up and turned them into security. So I wait outside for someone to let me back into the building. Couldn't scan in without my ID, and a few minutes later my friend walks by. She scans me in and we walk to the security desk, but no one was there, so I decided to chill with her for a bit since I couldn't leave campus. She was headed towards the same room I was studying in before, and right when we walked in, the first thing I see are my badge and keys on the table I was studying at. I don't understand what happened. There's no way I could have scanned myself out and unlocked my car without my badge and keys. About 2 weeks ago, I posted about my girlfriend finding a ring she had lost several years ago which randomly appeared in our drawer. Just now, my girlfriend's sister had a ring show up too. She told me she lost her class ring about 2 years ago at a high school during a competition. Apparently, she had the ring in a bag of hers that she had forgotten in the bathroom. She pretty much accepted that her class ring was gone and didn't expect to see it again. Well, today, her mom gave her the ring back after finding it in the floorboard of her SUV. It's definitely the same ring since it has her name inscribed on it in 2 places. The kicker is that her mom didn't buy the car until after the ring was lost. Weird stuff is going on lately. So back in 2014, I was bartending at a very large airport. The bar itself was small but in between 2 terminals and was in a major walkway, so I often had passengers ask me where certain gates are and stuff like that. I don't remember much about this day, but I was just mulling around with a customer, chatting it up, and I think he was the only one there at the time. When one of the passengers comes up and asks me what his gate is, mentally I'm thinking, there's a map and a giant departure arrival screen literally 4 feet away, but I asked to see his ticket and help him. His name jumped out immediately. It was my exact name. First, middle, and last. I don't have a particularly common name at all. I looked up at the guy, and he was older than me by about 10 years at least, and I don't remember him looking like me at all. I start to say, "Hey, we have the same name, cool." But I only get to "we" before he grabs the ticket out of my hand and speed walks away. Strange, to say the very least. Have any of you had this strange feeling that you are still lying on your desk in primary school and everything up until now is just a dream? I never took this seriously until I told this to my friend, and he also experienced the same. So I thought I must share this to know if anyone else has ever felt this way. The feeling occurred to me when I was about 7 or 8 years old. I remember lying my head down on the desk, then waking up, listening to class, and going home. But ever since, I feel like I actually haven't woken up from that sleep. I still feel like I'm sleeping in 2002, dreaming all of this. Has anyone else had a similar feeling? And what if I still haven't woken up? Quick background about me. I'm a gay male in my upper 30s, never had an intimate relationship with a woman. Still wrapping my head around this. I live with 3 roommates in a rural North Carolina neighborhood. Yesterday I was walking back to the house from my car when I heard a voice say, "I just want to see him." It was definitely a child, somewhere between 11 or 13. I turn to my left and see a little boy who looked almost exactly like me. He makes eye contact with me and freezes. His friend is around the same age, yanks his arm, and together they run down the sidewalk in the opposite direction. Something weird happens in my gut when he runs away. It felt really similar to heartbreak, but I have never felt this emotion before. I somehow shouted, "Hey," even though I don't remember how. The kid looks back at me, and I think he's crying. That's all I remember. My ears ring and my head gets really heavy. I wake up lying on the sidewalk, and I'm not sure how much time has passed. Nobody saw me since my car is parallel to the road and pretty much obstructed the view of my body. When I go inside, my roommate is watching the same thing on television. I can't explain what happened and just go to my room. I've called out of work today because of this sinking and sad feeling. I've been feeling a little better and my roommate cheered me up. I just don't understand what's happening. This happened to me a while ago and it still bugs me to this day. So me and my family were on vacation and we just made it back to the hotel after a long day. We got out of the car and start carrying in the luggage. I put my phone in my pocket and put another bag on my bag as we start heading in. After checking in, we all pile in the elevator and start going up to our room. I pull out my phone and respond to a text my friend sent me. As the doors opened, I absent-mindedly slipped it back into my pocket as we get into our room. We get unpacked and we start to call it a day, but when I reach into my pocket, nothing. I reach into my other pocket, then in my back pockets, and then my bag. Nothing, nada. It was gone off the face of the earth without a trace. My parents rightfully get mad that I lost my phone, but my brother notes that he saw me use it in the elevator. They send my brother and I back down to the car to retrace our steps to find it. We find nothing until we get to the car, and lo and behold, there it is, right on my seat. We are dumbfounded. We both knew I had my phone. We both saw it. We agreed to drop it since we could have just been mistaken. After all, it was a long day and we were all tired. We head back into the room, but I'm still bugged by this experience. I know I had my phone, but then I realized something. I could check my texts to confirm my story. I open up the app and click my friend's name. There was a 2-text exchange, timed at 9:46 p.m., and we left the car at 9:38. I'm still confused as to what truly happened that day, but I can't find out for the life of me. The only person who knew about this was my brother, but he's long forgotten what had happened. I honestly would like to know what the story behind that was. Hey friends, thanks for listening. Consider joining Patreon for $1 a month to get early access, and check out the merch store for cool Let's Read avatar apparel. Gonna be trick-or-treating with some family friends and kiddos, so maybe I'll see you out there in Candyland. And be sure to comment what you dressed up as this year, and have a safe and fun-filled Halloween.